Tuesday afternoon, 420 Live, Jeff Kravitz. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday edition. Sad day today. We lost the true American innovative guitar hero. Eddie Van Halen has left our earthly plane and moved on to the great beyond. It's the bad news keeps on coming, but like everything else, there's karmic swing back. No sooner did you hear about Eddie dying than you heard about Stephen Miller, the president's right-hand man and speechwriter and guy who made his immigration policy and separates those parents from their children, coming down with COVID. We're not happy to see anybody come down with COVID, but we know that most of the people that are coming down with it, it's due to their own stupid ignorance and inability to process science and understand how a pandemic or disease works. Even not listening to the great minds out there, thinking that you're smarter than the disease, thinking that you're smarter than a pandemic. Let's face it, folks, we don't know what's going on, and it's best to err on the side of safety. But also, we have to figure out a paradigm where you can have a little fun with your friends and get together. And that's kind of where we are right now, trying to figure out how to get together and have a little fun. We've created this safe space where we come in and distract you daily, 420, talking to different people in our lives that have touched our lives. Jeffrey Mayer is a legendary photographer. He was here way before I was, living in California and covering rock and roll at its genesis when it began, the early greats. Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix and John Lennon and Freddie Mercury and David Bowie. I mean, as Ziggy Stardust. I mean, incredible catalog of people he got. He kind of got the years that I didn't get. Because by the time most of those people, I never had a chance to shoot. Hendrix or John Lennon was dead by the time I was 18. Thank you, Mark David Chapman, for snuffing out another life way too early. And cancer took Eddie Van Halen today, and it's sad that we lost Eddie. And the first time I ran into Eddie was backstage at the MTV Video Music Awards in 1989 at Universal City, and this is him giving me a little bit of love. And we crossed paths. Eddie was a golfer. He liked to play golf. So I would see him at these celebrity golf tournaments that he would come and play at. Let's see here. Where is this? There you go. This is at the Video Music Awards, the year that they won. And this is him with Brian May. Brian May, you're a great guitar player, but you can't even carry Eddie's bags. And same thing with Richie Sambora. I mean, it's really nice that he got up there to play with Richie. This was at a celebrity charity event, but Richie Sambora Eddie Van Halen was in a class of his own. He created some of the most interesting, innovative approaches. He took a song, a Kink song, and turned it into a Van Halen signature tune. You Really Got Me. And this is with his wife, Valerie Bertinelli. He would have to go with her to do her network duties. Here they are at the VMAs winning with Sammy and Michael Anthony there and Alex. And here he is, one of those golf tournaments with Vince Neil. And here he is on stage. This is a pretty interesting story. I went to, he was playing Jimmy Kimmel Live. And I was like, I'd never really paparazzi, but I really wanted pictures of Van Halen because they haven't played that much. And I went down to Hollywood Boulevard with a 200 to 400 on a monopod, like I was going to work, like hi ho over my shoulder. And I brought a step ladder, a 3-foot step ladder. And I went down and I just set it up on the side there. And they have this big fence up. And I just waited for the music to start. And I got up there and David Lee Roth hit the stage and banged himself in the face with a microphone and started bleeding profusely as he's live on television. So they had a little bit of problem. Or maybe Jimmy's probably taped, Jimmy Kimmel. And this is the last time I shot Eddie at the Billboard Awards in Las Vegas, which is last year, 2019. Van Halen played the Billboard Awards. We will not be going to the Billboard Awards this year. This is also at the Billboard Awards. You can see David's face is healed there. But, he will be incredibly missed. I put up an Instagram post with many more photographs that you could check out from over my years of photographing Eddie. But, I got to him way, way late in the game. And my guest, Jeffrey Mayer, he was on Van Halen's tip in the 70s. So I wanted to introduce everybody to my good friend, co-worker, what do you call them? Yes, partner in crime, Jeffrey Mayer. Hello, Jeffrey.
How are you, Jeff?
Good. How do you feel about Eddie leaving us today? What's your first thoughts?
Oh, it's just terrible. Just terrible. He, as you said, was an absolutely amazing guitar player, very unique and very innovative, as you had mentioned. But it's just terrible. Much too early. He should have been with us at least another 20 years and still cranking out that music, you know. As you said, I think it was the early 70s when I first shot them. But they were wild. They were wild, and they were definitely a show, you know. It's another terrible moment in this time that we're living, you know.
So you saw Eddie, like Van Halen was playing beer parties in Pasadena, from what I'm reading on Twitter today, for a couple bucks, just from everybody who came in to buy kegs, basically, and would sit there and play a bunch of cover songs and things like that. But you saw him at the time when he was really innovative. And the first couple times that he performed live, he wasn't really into showing people what he was doing on the guitar. And did you see when he was turning his back to the stage and being a little protective of some of his fancier tricks?
I don't recall him turning the back. I mean, other than, you know, he'd be spinning around or doing things. I think the first time I shot him was at the Whiskey, you know, which is a small club. Couldn't be but 300 to 500 people in that place at any, if you packed it solid. So I never thought of him as being protective of the things he was doing, but, you know, maybe I just didn't think that far along into you know, I
just remember a frustration among certain guitar players trying to figure out what he was doing. And I think it was probably after the time he was in the Whiskey and more as he started to really develop his craft. I mean, I'm going to have to naturally go back on my own and figure that out. But what did you think when you saw them?
Oh, I thought they were amazing. I mean, just, you know, just balls to the wall, kind of, you know, pure rock and roll. I mean, they just pulled no punches and just played as loud and as raucous as you could do it. And, you know, some of the songs they did were very innovative, and his guitar work was rather unique. And obviously I'd seen a lot of the great guitar players at that point, because that was later. I mean, when I came to Los Angeles, which was, I think, 1972, I'd already been shooting for like 6 years or 6 or 7 years in New York, which is where I shot Lennon and Hendrix and Joplin and so on. And Fillmore East was like my home away from home, basically.
So you were bringing a camera into the Fillmore East back in the day?
Almost every weekend.
And was there any kind of security? You can't shoot?
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, I'd get assignments from magazines, and you'd have a little cardboard, you know, photo pass. You know, you would not. There was nothing like the stickums that we're used to now. You know, you would just like would be a little cardboard thing that was like in a plastic holder that you'd have to pin to your shirt or something. And you know, I got to know the guy who was the manager of the theater, and so I was kind of a regular. And it was,
how prepared would you be when you would go in there in those days? Like how many? What was it? One camera, one lens, and a couple rolls of film? Or?
I started out, you know, with a little 35 millimeter single lens. I mean, before I even had a first single lens reflex, I had like a Yashica reflex, you know,
rangefinder.
Yeah, thank you. Then when I would be going to shows on a real more regular basis, I think I moved up to Pentax before I got a Nikon, and I would have at least 2 bodies and at least like 3 lenses. So a wide angle, a normal, and a telephoto. And just a whole bag of film, you know?
And what was the light like in those places? I can't imagine like they were lighting it for photography back in those days. Not that
no, but I mean, the light was, considering exactly what you said, it was halfway decent. And the beginning of the Joshua Light Show, which is what Bill Graham basically promoted, and everything we understand about light shows, I think that was the genesis of it. Those people were the innovators. They would literally use a Petri dish, because I saw it, like, you know, they'd be in the broadcast booth, and they would put liquid in different colors, and then they would put it up on a projector, and that would be on a screen behind the band.
And that you talk about Brotherhood of Light. Is that right?
Well, what I initially knew it as was the Joshua Light Show, which was something that Bill Graham, promoted and said, okay, you guys come in and do this. But the actual lighting of the stage was, obviously run by the people who he had hired to, light the stage. So sometimes I would have pretty decent light, and sometimes it would depend a lot on the act. I don't know if you ever heard of this band, A Crazy World of Arthur Brown. They were a band, and this guy, he had a song called Fire, and he literally had a dish on the top of his head, and he lit it on fire during that song. So he was bringing his own light, but
he tried to set his hair on fire.
Well, but it was it was all insulated and stuff. But when I saw that, I said, okay, this is unique. Alice Cooper. The first time I saw Alice Cooper was at the Fillmore East, and that was definitely different. No one else had done what he did, and so many people followed and copied that. In my mind, that's where Kiss got a lot of their genesis and their IDs. But that's my take on that.
A very show-oriented stage. I want to cut back because I pulled up these pictures of Eddie. So. Oh
yeah, I wish. I mean, just one that I chose. I mean, there's some wild ones of him jumping in the air. I hadn't.
Well, yeah, because he sent me the pictures before, and then this morning we woke up and he's dead. And Jeffrey's like, "Should we go on the air today?" And I'm like, "Jeffrey, if I'm not dead, we're going on the air."
Well, just out of respect, I guess. I didn't know.
Yeah, but it's so hard because people are dying so fast nowadays. I would never have any airtime. I'd be mourning constantly.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely right. But the
legends are going. We lost Neil Peart. Was the last real big legend we lost.
Yeah, I mean. So many people. I mean, David Bowie, Prince. I mean,
Tom Petty.
Yeah. That's they always came out and did a little bow at the end of the show. And of course, David. He's famous for doing his leaps off of the drum kit. Stage. And I know I didn't give you any of those shots, but he's literally in midair.
There's Van Halen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the original with Michael Anthony. So
that's all the guys singing at the mic. That's a great shot.
Yeah,
I noticed that's a flash. You bring in flash in the
yeah. So that's one of the things that some people said. Well, you're not a purist. So I would shoot basically 3 cameras: one available light color, one available light black and white, and one like Kodachrome or Ektachrome with a flash on it. So that if the light was just so terrible and I wanted to bang out a couple of frames because I had an assignment and I had to produce some images, I would do some flash. So it would be, you'd be swapping cameras like a gunslinger,
Oh, no. Listen, I know like when certain clubs in LA, and I know with you, when we used to go shoot those shows at the Palladium, the light was so bad on the artist that if you didn't supplement it with a little bit of burst, you wouldn't have a shot. I mean,
exactly. Which is why I just said, hey, look, I'm going to be prepared to shoot that way if I have to.
Right. Because let's face it, we're capturing history. These rock stars come and go so fast, and you're just there trying to make a photograph. And a lot of times the lighting guy is lighting 2 members and not lighting the other 2, or, it's not it just gets a lot more challenging.
Oh, big time. And this shot would not exist if I didn't have that flash, because I don't remember what the lighting was like, but, I did it for a reason, and I did it quickly because that happened and then they were gone. They would go, either the show would be over or, because, for Alex Van Halen, the drummer, to come out and be at the mic was very unusual, obviously. Right. So it was.
To get all 4 of a band in one frame is very unusual to get.
Very difficult. Yes. Because especially with the drummer being recessed back at least 20 feet from the front of the stage. If you're in a very small venue, obviously they're closer.
So obviously you're shooting past the first 3 in these with this.
In the beginning, there was no such thing as first 3. I shot the whole show of everything. Like Led Zeppelin, I don't know how many times I shot them. I shot the show, and you would typically be there with fellow photographers, and let's say John Bonham would do a drum solo. You get as many shots as you could of them, and then you just like sit down and in the pit and fire up a joint and enjoy a 15-minute drum solo, and then go back to shooting the rest of the band.
Sounds like heaven. I wish I could do it right now.
Yeah, there may have been some other things going on besides just the joint in that, but whatever.
I'll try to scroll through these here and get to the pictures I want to, which is I want to talk about the Led Zeppelin since you just brought them up. Here we go. So talk about this band. What was the first time you saw them? What was the first time you shot them? Was it the
first time I saw them was at the Fillmore East, and I think it was either 68 or 69. It was right after they were signed to Atlantic Records. I never really, I hadn't heard much about them. And I think there's maybe a shot in there that I did where Jimmy is backstage drinking some champagne or beer or something. I don't know where that shot is.
Hold on, I'll dig it up.
Oh yeah, it's right next to the John Lennon shot.
Hold on, here it comes. Here it comes. There it is. Hold on.
Yeah. So look, I mean, he couldn't have been but like 20 years old there.
Yeah, look how young he is.
Exactly. So, I mean, basically,
he still has his baby fat.
Exactly. Yeah, and I cropped. I mean, there's a young lady sitting on the arm of the chair that he's in, and the rest of the band members are still there, and I'm just hanging out backstage with them. They were literally passing a joint around, and so that kind of access impossible for me today. And here,
especially now today, you're talking about.
No, I'm talking before COVID, but I'm just saying,
it would be 3 songs. You're in the venue, and then you got to go out. And sometimes they'll let you put your cameras away and come back in. And most times you're just done.
If you have a ticket, know. I mean, or if you knew the band well, and they said, "Hey, man, just stand off to the side." But it's like, yeah. So this shot is in this book that Led Zeppelin put out.
That's the classic.
Yeah, so that was done by the band, and it's like a double-page spread. That was, I think Jimmy picked that, or his guy. So that.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's fierce.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I mean, he was a monster. Him, Keith Moon, Neil Peart,
Ginger Baker.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't give you a shot of him. I gave you a shot of Eric Clapton. That was in Cream. That was the first time I shot Cream. That was
wow. Where's this? Wembley?
No, this is Kezar Stadium in San Francisco.
Oh shit!
There was 75,000 people there.
What?
And literally, you can see the risers on the other side. I climbed up on the risers and shot down on the stage. And you
went up on the risers.
Yeah, I just climbed up on the scaffolding.
What a photo.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't give you the photo, but there's a great shot that I did before the band went on stage because I had access because Peter Grant had hired me to shoot these shows. There were 2 shows at Kezar, and there were other photographers shooting for them as well. But I shot from behind Bonham's drum kit with no one on the stage, and you just see the entire audience in front of you. In fact, the gallery that has my photos, Fathom Gallery in Brentwood, sold one of those prints of that drum kit shot to the drummer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers just last week.
Oh, yeah? Well, that's good.
When he saw the print, he said, "You're shitting me."
Is that what he said?
That's what the guy my friend Frank, who owns the gallery, that's what he told me. He says, because it's like a drummer's view. Right. I'm like literally behind the chair of John Bonham's chair, and that's how I did the wide angle shot. And that's what drummers see.
Right. If they're lucky and successful.
Yeah.
Here's a great shot. He's using the bow here, and the way
using a violin bow. Right now, you actually have all 4 members. You can see John Bonham right in the lower right.
I see. I can see John, and there's
and then Robert is off to the left, and then John Paul Jones is right there behind him.
Another thing that's hard to do is to get all four guys in a shot playing that's interestingly composed and not just straight across.
Yeah, it's hard. You got to do a lot of photos. You have to take a lot of shots, and you have to wait for the right moment because each one of them is moving independently of one another, and except obviously John Bonham behind the drums. But to get his face like that, to see his face and not be obscured by either a drum or a cymbal, is unique.
Right,
so,
and he's perfectly lit too.
Exactly.
He's got the same exposure.
There are so many factors that come into play here that you have no control over.
If you were 4 or 5 inches taller, just kidding.
You mean like as tall as you but I wouldn't have gotten this angle then.
I know you're right. You're right. Because this is the way this bow is falling into the frame, the bottom of the frame, and vibrating there because it's going a little bit faster than your shutter, right?
Right.
I mean, these are like 60th of a second. Would you say 80th?
Some of them could be because look, you got to be careful because Jimmy is really hot, and yet look how dark Robert and John Paul are.
Right. And you don't have the latitude back there in the film days that you did with the digital. Would you find yourself pushing film all the time?
All the time. Pushing film all the time. You would be using, like, this is all tungsten light, stage lighting. And sometimes they'd be using a Super Trooper, which is the blue-white light, the spots.
Right.
So it would contrast, but most of the time I'd be shooting what was called EPJ, which was Ektachrome, high-speed Ektachrome, tungsten balance. And they finally, initially it was 160 ISO, and then it went to 320, and then I would push it a couple of stops or more, depending on what the light was. But
well, even 320 is not a lot of latitude.
No, but so you go plus one would be 640,
right?
And, but you couldn't go too far, otherwise you get so grainy. It's like it starts falling apart.
Yeah, and you must have had so many where you were just on the edge, where they were just a little bit soft from movement or stuff like that.
Oh yeah, soft from movement, or let's say if I focused on him and then he moved towards me. There
weren't autofocus cameras back then.
No autofocus. I had a spot meter around my neck, and I'd be doing a reading right off of his face, and in fact. That's pretty funny, but you just interviewed Steve Granitz like a few weeks ago. So Granitz, when he started shooting in the pit, he'd be yelling at me, "What's the reading, Jeffrey?"
What's the reading? He didn't trust his online. I love this shot too. This is a great photo.
Yeah,
and here they are in action, right? There's another shot where you got all four guys in there.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you can't see much of John Bonham's face, but you see the top of his head.
Right. And, I don't think it matters if you see the face because you know who the guy is and you know what he's doing and you know what he's about and he's in the middle of the moment, right? And these guys all had long hair. It was all flying all over. To get all four of them with their faces out at the same time, that's impossible.
Well, yeah. And as you said earlier, just to get all four of them in one image is like a task.
Yes.
But sometimes they would come together like this, and it would be
another good one too. Robert's got great. Oh yeah, here you can see Robert and John's face. Here you're gonna see all their faces actually.
Well, yeah, part of John,
part of John, but a little bit of flesh, a little bit of flesh. Yeah, I think we're back at the beginning there.
Yeah,
I mean, you have a favorite from back then? Was there someone that would come around, or you would be excited every time they're like, "Oh, Led Zeppelin's coming back"?
Well, after you first heard the bands and you got used to them, and it's what we think as classic rock now. No one thought of that. It was just rock and roll.
Right.
And
well, they were defining an era.
Absolutely. And the thing is, they were learning to be who they are. And that first album. If you ever hear Jimmy talk about their music, he says the first album, because I heard him being asked, what's your favorite album? He said, well, it's got to be the first because that set up everything for us. Everything that we were as a band was defined in that first album. And everything that we could be went on from there. So, I mean, they kicked ass. They kicked ass. I mean, you know, the Who, you know, I mean, when you heard the Who, they just like, they were explosive. When I first saw the Who was the first time was a rock and roll show put on by a guy called Murray the K.
Murray the K from Cleveland, right?
Yeah, well, he was a New York DJ.
New York.
He called himself the Fifth Beatle. And he put on shows in old movie theaters. The RKO Keith's was like a movie theater on like Broadway and 66th Street in Manhattan. And the Who, Cream, who else? The Rascals, Richie Havens. I mean, these people all played on one show. They would do like 20-minute or 25-minute sets. And that was the first time I saw the band, not at this shot, but the first time, I don't think I gave you a shot of the first time I shot them, which was 67 and in this show. And that's the first time I saw them breaking up their instruments. And I said, these guys are out of their fucking minds. I mean, how do they even stay on the road? They're just destroying everything that they own. I think I gave you a shot of Keith Moon after he kicked over his drums.
Yeah. I love the Pete jumping, Roger up. Here he is with the suspenders. This is prime Tommy, right?
Yeah. In fact, yes. And that was the first time I saw Tommy again was at the Fillmore East. It was the first time they performed Tommy in the States completely. And it was an awesome thing. But oh God, I don't think I gave you, or maybe I did give you the shot. I think maybe.
Well, where's this shot here with the fringe? This is prime.
This is the Isle of Wight. This is the Isle of Wight Festival in England. This was 1969. This is where Bob Dylan came out after his motorcycle accident. It was like he was the main act, right? And the Beatles, 3 of the Beatles showed up in the audience where I'm standing in this VIP area. So this was obviously the fringe era of the Who, and this was like August. This is like literally weeks after Woodstock.
Wow!
Woodstock.
You didn't go to Woodstock, right?
No, because here's the story. So I was living in Woodstock with a bunch of buddies that rented a house literally on Xena Lane in Woodstock. And you know, no one thought anything. It was like a small show. No one knew that Woodstock would become what it was. So me and a couple of buddies said, "Hey, you guys feel like flying to Europe and like hanging out there for a few weeks?" So that's what we did. So we went to England, we went to Switzerland and France.
So that's why you were there for Isle of Wight.
That's why I was there for Isle of Wight. Exactly.
All right, so let's cut back to this Keith Moon. Here he is on the drums.
Right.
Keith Moon, if you people out, anybody who doesn't know who Keith Moon is, he is a true legend. And here he is after he kicked over his drum kit.
He literally kicked over the drums. And after this shot was taken, he jumped with both feet into the bass drums and destroyed the drums. It was insane. My mouth just dropped open. These guys are from another planet. But that was their shtick, and they wouldn't do that until the end, obviously. So that but they had to keep replacing all this equipment, And Townsend threw the guitar 40 feet in the air and let it drop to the ground. And when it didn't break, he would take it and try and smash it like an axe on the ground. And then if it still didn't break, he would take it and run with the neck of the guitar straight into the speaker cabinets. It was insane.
Trash everything. They must have a hell of a guitar budget that first year touring.
They had to be losing money coming hand over fist. There was no way. You couldn't make that kind of money back then. It was unique, to say the least.
All right, well, let's hear about a true California original. When did you first see Tom Petty?
Oh, man. God, what year was that? It was either the late 70s or early 80s, I think. He'd been around a while. Obviously, he started out in Florida, came here. Obviously, he's playing with Stevie Nicks here. What's that great song that they did? I just blanked on it.
Stop dragging my heart.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a great song, and and they become very good friends. It's like he he was again another true original, and but such a different take on music in general. There he is together.
Yeah, this is really young, right? That's Bob Dylan, right?
No. That's his guitarist.
This looks really young. This is really young.
Yeah, this is real early. This is I got to think
79, 80.
Oh no, yeah, no. I've got it's 83. Actually.
83. Wow.
Yeah. So Campbell, Mike Campbell.
Oh, Mike Campbell. Wow, he looks so young. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And here's another shot. It's a different tour, right? Or is it the same one?
No, I think it's the same one, just a different. I just backed off a little bit,
and more light on her.
Yeah. Now here I did. Here I was backed off, so I had to do a flash if I wanted to get these people. Otherwise, it'd be totally black.
It would be a big black hole there.
Yeah.
Oh, like a
U2. Yeah, that was the first time I shot U2. That was at the Cal Jam, I think it was. No, the US Festival.
Oh, the US Festival.
Yeah, out in Glen Helen, out in San Bernardino.
Yeah, so that was before Glen Helen had the amphitheater, and it was just a giant field. There were like a couple 100,000 people at US Festival, right?
It was huge. It was really huge. Yeah, and that was actually pretty successful. They expanded on the idea of Woodstock, but did it so that there was enough food and enough facilities for everybody, and they could make money.
Well, that was Steve Wozniak, right? He was.
I believe so. Yes, he took the money from the computers and put it into music. But one of the things that Bono did at that show was there was a huge parachute type thing over the stage, and he climbed up the struts and was laying across this material. So I have a shot, which I didn't give you, where you see the silhouette of his body laying over this material, which could have ripped and he could have fallen 60 feet to the stage. So, and he did that again at the sports arena a few months later. He climbed up a thing, and in the sports arena, there's 2 levels. He climbed up to the second level, and he jumped off the second level into the audience, and they caught him. So that's got to be 20 feet at least.
Yeah.
It's not like going off the stage. You're talking at least a full story above the first floor. So
Bono, the true original. All right, here it is. 50 questions. Talk about Mark Bolan from T-Rex.
Yeah, T-Rex. This was, I think, the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. Probably talking 73, maybe. Let's see if I put. I put early 70s. So it's got to be 72, 3, 4, something like that.
And what was your take on him? Because he was another talent that was here and gone pretty rapidly, right?
Oh my God, so fast! I got to shoot him. I think once, twice at the most. I think.
Did you have that image? Did you have that idea when you were shooting him that this guy was running it wild and loose and wasn't going to be here long? Because I've had that feeling before with different artists. I'm shooting.
No, I never even thought of that. Being so young, you think you're going to live forever, and
right?
You don't think of the fatalistic aspects of where and what these people are doing. Obviously they were living, burning the candle at both sides. But I didn't personally think of, these individuals doing what they did to the extent that they did, and say, oh, hey, these guys are not going to be around very long.
How about, did you ever see Brian Jones with the Stones?
Never saw Brian Jones. Never saw Brian Jones because he was dead before. First time I shot the Stones was 69, Madison Square Garden. This is not that. This is actually the Forum. This was 1973 when Mick was married to Bianca, and she's originally from Nicaragua, and there was a huge earthquake in Nicaragua, and this was a benefit for the victims of the Nicaraguan earthquake. This was, I think, 73 at the Forum, and
here we'll just scroll. There's a couple. There's one or two more.
Oh, okay. So this is Anaheim Stadium. I believe this is like 78. This was, I considered it personally one of my classic shots. Him grabbing his own butt, them singing into the mic together, pure Kodachrome, beautiful lighting. I'm in the audience because I had a backup, probably shooting with a 300 or at least a 200 or maybe a 180, because with Nikon, the 180 was the classic 2.8 lens at that point. But
after to shoot them in a dark hole, when you finally got them out in the light, it must have been so much better.
It was like what the fuck? It was incredible. It was incredible because, huge venue, Anaheim Stadium, it's like, there had to be 50, 60,000 people there, easy. Yeah, it was a fun show. I mean, these guys, man, look at 50 years down the road, these guys are still rocking. The fact that
they still got to get through COVID. We all got to come out the other side.
Yeah.
But what do you think? You think they're all going to be left after we get done? All these legendary bands, Paul McCartney and the Who and the Stones.
I don't know if they're thinking, will I ever be able to perform again?
Right.
Yeah, no, and it's tragic if that's the case, and we're left without being able to see these performers even in the last years of their performing ability. I mean, these guys are the true believers in the fact that you go until you die, man. You go until you die.
Like Keith Richards has become a meme. Everybody's like, oh yeah, look, Keith Richards is still alive. Who had him surviving?
Right. He looked like he was dead from when he was born. So
here's another band I never shot.
Yeah, Queen. Absolute incredible band. I mean, the performances were just incredible. I mean, and just the musicianship was on a par comparable with none, and at least in my mind. Freddie was just the ultimate performer. Beyond anything you could imagine, and again, another light that just burned too quickly and was gone. He's just, what can you say? It's like just very, very, very great. Oh yeah, there's
the one.
That's a pretty cool shot.
Stand in the groin shot.
Yeah, now that shot actually, one like that, which is like right back here. Mm-hmm. That one was actually on the wall outside the Forum Club. It's like about 9 feet tall. They bought that shot, and it sits next to another photographer's shot of Robert Plant from Zeppelin. But he had so many looks and so many different. Yeah, there you go.
Wow, that's a little too descriptive there in the shorts.
Hey man, I just shoot it. I don't do anything about it.
You don't have to dress them or undress them. You just take the pictures.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now
what
this is another.
Pink.
Now this is Pink Floyd. And
what tour are we looking at? 19.
I mean, this is Dark Side of the Moon tour, because I was hired by Pink Floyd to shoot this in the LA dates by their manager, and so I had all kinds of access. So I literally climbed up on the risers again to get this unique view, because most people, you're looking at, from the left looking towards the band, so you never see this whole keyboard and set up. And I'm not sure if he had a Mellotron in there or whatever it was.
Rick Wright, right?
Yeah, he could have had an organ, an electric piano. Yeah, so this is the shot you would normally see. And, their light show was absolutely spectacular. The pictures don't do it justice when you're.
Well, in those days, you didn't have the latitude that we have now with the digital cameras. Let's face it, the latitude with the digital nowadays, being able to push your ASA or ISO, whatever you call it, as high as you possibly want, is absolutely nuts. In those days, when I first started, same thing. You're struggling with film and you're struggling with lighting, and you can't really show the light show because it blows out the talent. And, it's like they didn't really mesh.
No. But here with them, they were always very understated about themselves individually. They were more about the show. And that's why the light is so even here, lit on them. When they had a screen behind them and there would be multiple images being broadcast on the screen, This was just where they were in a musical mode, but they didn't put a great deal of light individually on themselves. Like if David Gilmour would be doing a guitar solo, then there might be a single spotlight on him. Or if Roger was singing a vocal, then that would happen. But they were more about the overall look of the show. And they were innovators in this show. I mean, I didn't give you the shot, but the first time I shot these guys was in a club called Steve Pole's The Scene in New York City. And literally you had to walk down, like below street level. The club was like maybe 250 people could fit in this club. And I have this great shot of Roger Waters on this huge kettle drum, and he's about to smash down on it. It looks like he's psychotic. It's like, the first time I saw some of these bands.
How about this girl? You had really good access with her, huh? You worked with Pat Benatar. Yes,
I did. I did a lot of work with her. I did a lot of concerts, a lot of music videos, and I did the Get Nervous album cover. I don't know if I gave that to you.
Yeah, it's in here. It's coming up. These shots are iconic.
So this is during the video of the Get Nervous album cover shoot. I had to build an entire set, which when you show the
right here.
That what she's sitting on is a giant light box. So that thing's about like 6 or 7 feet wide and about 5 feet deep and about 4 feet high. And I put something called translume over it and have lights underneath and behind her. But that background, I actually built 3 walls that made it look like a padded cell. And she's actually in an actual straitjacket. You'll love this. When we came up with the idea, and a lot of it was her idea, and also the art director of the label, Chrysalis Records at that time. Anyway, she said, "Well, what about a straitjacket?" And I said, "Where the fuck am I going to get a straitjacket?" So I had to go down to Santa Monica Boulevard to an S&M store and buy a straitjacket, literally. And she's so tiny. She's only about 5'2", and so you can't see it here because she's not standing. But their designer, their clothing designer,
wardrobe.
Yeah, wardrobe. She sewed on like about a 4 or 5 inch extension to the jacket, so it became like a dress. So we did do some photos, which again I didn't give you. I was trying to limit the numbers. Oh God. So, all right, here we go.
Ozzy and Sharon. Look at Sharon. Oh my God.
Okay, so this is after the fact, but if you show the other shot, there's actually 4 shots, a sequence of 4 shots.
Oh yeah, we're back in the Zeppelin.
Okay, so
I got 2 of them. I got these 2. I got the bird.
Yeah. So there's actually of this. I didn't give you the entire set, but there's a sequence of 4 shots where this is this is a marketing meeting at Epic Records in Century City. This is the first time he ever did this. This is for him biting the head off the bat. This is everything. I was the only photographer there. I was hired by the label to shoot these publicity shots. He came in, in this sport jacket, and I didn't know anything about it. They said, "Be prepared to shoot fast." He sat down on the chair, the arm of this chair. This is a publicist who probably doesn't want to be remembered in this instance, but he pulled the dove out of his jacket, held it up, put it in his mouth, bit the head off of the bird, spit the head out, and I've got the head falling in midair. Oh. If you go back to the other shot, I can see the blood. You see on his jeans, on his right leg, that's blood.
Is that the live bird there?
Huh?
Is that the live bird he's holding, or is that the dead bird?
He's beheaded. The head's gone.
Oh, the head's gone. I can't tell.
Yeah. So there's a sequence where he takes it out, puts it in his mouth, bites the head off, spits it out, and then sits like that. And then he takes another bird out of the other pocket and lets it fly across the room. There's maybe 30 executives in this room. They were incensed. They were livid. They were so pissed off at him, you can't even tell. In fact, the executive VP of the West Coast called CEO of Columbia Epic Records said, "I never want to see this guy in our building again. He's an asshole." Da 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 da. Of course, then he sold 3 million albums, and they said, "Come on back, baby.
Come on back. You can bite the head off of our executives next." It was open season.
So that was the first guy to do that shot, and then he did the whole biting the head off the bats in concert and so on.
Well, now here's a guy who would never bite the head off a bat.
No, now this is a whole other story. Obviously, he was a iconic hero to me. The Beatles. First time I saw the Beatles was '66 in Shea Stadium. I still have the ticket with the picture of 4 guys, $5.75.
Oh, you're dating yourself here, by the way.
It's fine. I don't care. But if you see the button on his sweater,
yes,
that's Pat Boone. Anyhow, so here I'm shooting again for Lennon's record label, which at that time was APCO Records. That was after Apple and they, the breakup. This is 1971, New York City, WPLJ radio station. So, the trade shots is what typically I'd be hired to do. And I asked John if I could get some shots of him. I didn't give it to you, but there's a shot of him and Yoko, which they're together. But I said, "It's okay if we get some shots of you guys together and alone?" He said, "Yeah, no problem." And he could tell that I was a little anxious, a little nervous. He said, "Take your time, no problem." I mean, he was such a gentleman and so soft-spoken. It was a wonderful experience for me because that's the first time I had ever met him. And, it was burned in my memory, that he was really a good guy. And again, as you said earlier, just another tragic loss.
So you've shot all these legends. Here's another one that left the plane way too early.
Oh yeah.
I hate to say this because it's like a competition, but if you could put one back on the planet.
Oh man, that is impossible to answer. I mean,
George. I mean, there's so many legends.
So the Hendrix one. So that's another unique story. This was on his birthday in 1968 at New York Philharmonic Auditorium in New York City, and literally, this was a very quiet moment. He can see he's tuning his guitar. This was so different than every other shot that I'd done during that show. And this is a black and white shot, but the color is like it's brilliant orange, purple, yellow. His shirt is like explosive in color. But this was a very subdued shot, which I really loved. And you can see he's looking at his fingers tuning the keys.
Right, he's looking at the tuning. But in those days, they didn't have the tuners like we have now. We're actually looking at the little thing. So he's doing it off the ear.
In his ear. And I got, I had to shoot backstage. They had a birthday cake for him. I have shots of him cutting his birthday cake, playing on the piano, and drinking a Rheingold beer. And I was talking to him. And he was so soft-spoken, I literally had to lean in. I was half deaf anyway at that point, having listened to all the bands I listened to. But he was the complete antithesis of what he was on the stage. Wild, incredible on stage, and just very subdued and low-key, in a normal environment. So it was it's interesting to see that, opposite ends of the spectrum on these.
Well, was he the most innovative guitarist you'd seen up to that point in your life?
Absolutely, bar none. Again, another drop jaw moment when I first heard him play. I said, "What planet is this guy from?" Because I'd seen Clapton, I'd seen Jeff Beck, I'd seen Jimmy Page, I'd seen so many incredible guitar players. And Pete Townsend also, people don't give Pete Townsend, nearly enough credit for his incredible guitar playing. So a story that I remember hearing, whether I know it's true or not, I don't know. But when Pete Townsend first saw Hendrix perform in London, he called up Clapton and said, "Hey, I just saw this guy, Jimi Hendrix. We're out of a fucking job, man."
I think they went down there the next night to go see him.
See him. In fact, it's crazy. It's beyond words. I mean, I'd love to bring all these people back because.
Do you think up until Eddie Van Halen, had there been anybody you'd seen that changed the game as much as Eddie did from Jimmy? Is there somebody in the middle there? Like I'm talking about as innovative, like jaw dropping as Jimi Hendrix. Was there somebody in between him and Eddie Van Halen that made you go, "Holy crap, this is the next level"?
No, because the next one after that was Stevie Ray Vaughan, and that was later.
Right.
But to this day, I mean, very few people can even come close to what Jimmy did. It was just things he did that just, and I don't know how he did it, but.
Because he was originating it, it wasn't something he was mimicking. Like everybody now mimics Jimi Hendrix or mimics Jimmy Page or mimics Eddie Van Halen. But back in those days, he was the originator. Like he was coming up with these sounds. I remember hearing Hendrix when I was a kid. I was so confused at how you can make a guitar sound like it was a plane dropping bombs.
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, think about it. Think about what he did with the Star Spangled Banner. I mean, at Woodstock. I mean, you just go, what am I listening to? It's just like crazy.
Here's George Harrison, and
so this is the first benefit concert for rock and roll in history. This was the concert for Bangladesh at Madison Square Garden. So this guy is from Badfinger with George Harrison. Clapton was on the stage.
It's a legendary concert. I remember my neighbors having the records.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were so many people that he got to come and perform. It was amazing. It was an amazing thing to witness and to be. I mean, that was literally the first benefit concert ever.
Yeah, the first time you saw bands change from song to song, that kind of thing, or was it like people doing whole sets?
No. It was songs, and and they would highlight somebody. I just wish I could remember. Billy Preston was there. As I said, Clapton was there.
Probably Steve Keltner on drums. Jimmy Keltner on drums.
Yeah, there was just so many people that were absolutely the top of their game musicians. But the concert itself was unique and beyond words.
How about Elton John when he first burst?
Yeah. Now I didn't get to shoot him in 1970 at the Troubadour, but this is maybe a year or two later. And he was wild, man. He was kicking some serious butt and upsetting the apple cart. And it was great songs. I mean, obviously him and Bernie Taupin. I mean, they wrote amazing songs, song and music, lyrics and music together. It was just beyond words. He put on incredible shows. Yeah, and he just loved being a showman. I mean, it was in his DNA, to do that.
I mean, one of my favorites when I was a wee teen, Elton John was my guy, and here he is flying on the keyboard.
Literally kicked up his legs and just was flying in the air.
This is like Jerry Lee Lewis kind of stuff, right?
Exactly. Except Jerry Lee Lewis did it the other way, where he would have one leg on the ground and he'd be pounding on the keyboards with the heel of his shoe. Right. Elton said, "Okay, I'm going the other way. I'm kicking my shoes out." So
Ted just huge talents. And here, this is David Bowie backstage.
Okay, now here,
Bonnie Raitt and Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's show. So you got Bowie, you got Terry Bozzio, which was drummer for is it Berlin? Wait a minute.
He played with Zappa.
Yeah, but he also played.
And he played in Berlin with his wife.
His wife, Terry
Bozzio.
Yeah, right. You got back between him and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Then you have Chrissie Hynde from the Pretenders, Bonnie Raitt, and then
Slim Jim.
Yeah, Slim, and then Slash drinking, and then Collins.
Albert Collins.
Albert Collins, yes.
Wow.
So that was a pretty unique shot, a set of people together. That was all backstage.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things we get hired to do at these at these events would be to go backstage and get the trade shots and for Rolling Stone magazine, and so people could see these intimate moments that would help sell records for the record label, right?
And, that was unique. Now, Bowie, I mean, what can you say, man? I mean, one of the most innovative performers, singers, songwriters.
And this is later on in '93, but you shot Ziggy Stardust. What did you think?
This is Ziggy Stardust.
What did you think when you saw him do this?
Again, it's like, okay, this is transformative. It's like, okay, I mean, because he literally created this persona and he lived it. And and created the music to support it. And, you know, absolutely, literally was like a changeling. He could become a chameleon. That first shot that you showed was at a video shoot that I did in the 90s. And we shot for 2 or 3 days. I was shooting with him. And he became Buster Keaton. He became like at least 5 or 6 different characters. And it was all, you know, it was all part of the video he was doing. And the director set up this thing. But, you know, this wasn't even, you know, this I'm just shooting some kind of production stills here. And he would do these like just poses, and it would just be so natural for him to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, he was incredibly theatrical, and it had been something he'd been working for years. I mean, a true legend. I mean, and you got him in the beginning there. Here's Clapton and Cream. Wow.
Yeah. Now, most people, when they see the shot, they don't even know who this is because
the Jufro is strong here.
Exactly. So this is from that show I was telling you about in '67. The first time I ever shot Cream and The Who, they were on the same bill. They were doing 20, 25-minute sets 3 or 4 times a day.
Oh, the Murray the K show.
Murray the K shows, exactly. Now this guitar, again, it's a black and white shot, but it's like this.
Really colorful, right?
Oh my God. It's like, you know, it was hand painted, you know, what's that? A Gibson SG, I think. And
yes, it is.
It is. And it's like, oh my God, it was like, but again, fringe, you know, a lot of fringe, a lot of
fringe. And this looks like a video shoot.
No, this is the LA Coliseum.
Wow.
This is a Born in the USA show.
What a great shot. You know, he looks like Kevin Mazur here for some reason.
Oh God. God forbid.
Hey, you know. And here's the true legend. Somebody I'm really upset I never got the photograph. What was it like at a Marley show? Were people just firing up Bud all over back in those days?
Yeah, this was the Santa Barbara County Bowl. I think
this is a legendary show. This tape is legendary. This show is legendary.
Yeah,
Santa Barbara County Bowl is one of the most legendary live Marley shows, isn't it?
It's a beautiful venue to see a show. I mean, you know, it's just, you know, if you're there in the evening, you know, it's just you're surrounded by mountains. You got to walk. You got to really hike to your seat. You know.
No, I know it's a long walk up, but they've really changed it over the years.
Yeah. So this is, you know, I mean, getting to shoot him in the daytime. You know, Kodachrome. It's, you know, you can't get it any better than that.
Jeffrey, you've had a front row seat to some of the most amazing musical moments in the world, and a thank you for being there and capturing these incredible moments. Okay, so a couple questions.
Yeah.
Chris Myers, a friend of mine, is a drummer. Genesis, Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins.
Shot all of that. I didn't have a chance to put them in there, but Genesis also. Peter Gabriel was another changeling. He would change characters at least 5, 6, 7 times in one show. And he would be unrecognizable, completely in an outfit that you say, what is this?
Yeah, that would be Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. You come out at all these different characters, right?
Yeah, I mean, one, he was like, I had a giant flower petals around his head.
Yes, that was even earlier than that.
Sorry?
That would be like 72, 73.
Yeah, early 70s, yes. And he was incredible. And, you know, I mean, obviously, Phil Collins stepped up to the plate, you know, and started singing. Came out from behind the drums when Gabriel left, and still was a great band.
How about Zappa and Mother's Invention?
Yes, I shot Mother's Invention. I was when I was pouring through.
He sent me 50 some odd pictures. We're already out of time. We went through 50. I'm surprised we got through them all today.
Did we get through them all? Wait, you didn't?
Yeah,
we got Wonder in Griffith Park though.
Which one?
It's between the Stone shot and the T-Rex shot.
Oh, yeah, right, yes. But you know what? I'm out of time. So we're going to have you talk about more of your photography another time. But if tell us where people want to buy prints, where they can get prints.
Fathom.gallery, fathom.gallery.com. Rock Iconics, Iconics, ICONIX.
And you're on Instagram and all that stuff.
Yeah, you know, I haven't been posting much for the last 6 months, obviously.
Not a lot going on. Jeffrey Mayer, thank you so much, my old friend, for coming on. It was great talking today. My comrade, as Albert Ortega said earlier.
I can't believe that we went through that time that quickly.
Unbelievable, huh?
Yeah.
That's how you know you have a great interviewer, because you forget that the time goes.
High five, man. High
Thanks,
five.
Jeffrey. Good to see you. Thank you, Jeffrey Mayer. Peace, love, happiness, everybody out there. Tomorrow, Vance Powell. Thursday, we got the guys from Goose coming on. And Friday, we got Annabelle Lukin with Anders Osborne and Ivan Neville talking